Raoul had slain the Demon King. With evil vanquished and peace restored, he believed the world could finally breathe freely again. But peace was not what awaited him. Instead of glory, he was met with treachery. The princess, once his ally, declared him a threat to the crown. For the crime of rejecting her affection, she ordered his execution. Before the gathered court, she proclaimed Raoul obsolete. His usefulness ended with the Demon King's fall. Now, as a hero who had outlived his purpose and wielded too much power, he was dangerous. Bleeding out on the cold stone floor, Raoul's last cry echoed through the halls, a vow to kill her and punish every traitor who had betrayed him. Death came swiftly, and with it, silence. Then light. Raoul awoke in the white void from before his birth. He realized he was truly dead. He turned to the goddess of love. "Did it please you," he asked bitterly, "to watch me die in vain?" The goddess only sighed. If it happened, then it was meant to be, but perhaps it is not the end. She knelt beside him. "I can grant you strength once more, but you'll have to make me suffer first." Raoul glared at her. "If you ever loved me, bring me back. Let me destroy those who butchered me like a dog." 1 year later, in the Kingdom of Curves, the opulent halls of Yulbach Castle buzzed with wedding preparations. Princess Victoria, dressed in an exquisite snow-white gown, stood before her mirror. The maids praised the way it matched her fair skin and pale hair, confident her fiancé Emile would be enchanted. But Victoria's expression twisted into rage. "Do I look pleased?" she snapped. "This dress is hideous. Bring me another, and remove that maid who dared waste my time." The terrified servants bowed and scattered. One girl was dragged away. Commander Sandra watched silently. This outburst was only the latest omen. Soldiers had been slaughtered at the gates days ago, their killer still unknown. Whether demon or human, none could say. The royal knights had found no leads. Sandra approached the princess. "Forgive me, Your Highness, but I must speak plainly. Holding a parade now is unwise. We don't know what we're dealing with. You may be in danger." Victoria turned her cold gaze on him. "If I so much as scratch my skin," she said, voice sharp as glass, "I will erase your entire order." Sandra tried again. "Our rulers are dying, one by one, from some unknown plague, and strong warriors are falling without explanation. We must be vigilant." Victoria laughed lightly. "Old men dying doesn't concern me. They've lived their time. I haven't." Sandra's jaw tightened. "Even on their deathbeds, they begged blessings upon you, Princess. Please, delay the parade until we find who killed the gate guards. I believe these deaths are connected." But Victoria waved him off. "I'll be surrounded by shields, and the Demon King is dead. So are all the heroes. What could I possibly fear?" Sandra bowed low, hiding his grim thoughts. "This woman, she's merciless, and she calls it strength." In the streets of Radosno, the people cheered as Princess Victoria's carriage passed. They reached out, begging for a wave. She smiled regally. "See how they love me," she whispered to no one in particular. Prince Emile Orkler, riding beside her, gave her a sidelong glance. "Still as ruthless as ever," he murmured. "My mother is thrilled about our union, and I must admit, so am I, though you've had your eye on me a lot lately." Victoria smirked. "I have no issue with your noble bloodline, but beyond that, your value is limited." Inwardly, she considered Emile useful, a man of pedigree, beauty, and no intellect, perfect for a puppet king and for siring an heir. If looks were all that mattered, this would be easier, but ambition demanded more. She recalled the moment she first met Raoul, his eyes burning with truth and conviction as he vowed to slay the Demon King, no matter the cost. She had wanted to defile those eyes, and she had. He died by her hand, broken and betrayed, and she had enjoyed every second. Now the order of knights arrived at the parade, the commander leading them. The crowd erupted in cheers. Victoria sat back, watching the kingdom she ruled with an iron smile. "This world is mine," she thought, "and I will take even more." As the high priest began blessing the union of Princess Victoria and Prince Emile, solemn prayers echoed through the grand cathedral. They asked the gods for happiness and prosperity in the royal marriage. Raoul, gathered in the crowd, smirked and said, "Victoria." She was stunned upon hearing that voice. Then blood splattered all across her face. The priest was cut into pieces, blood spilling everywhere. Panic erupted among the crowd as he removed the cloak. Victoria was baffled. Then, as if pulled by fate, Raoul stepped forward and locked eyes with Victoria. "It's been a long time," he said coldly. "How have you been, Princess?" Victoria froze. You're supposed to be dead." Raoul smiled faintly. "I was, but I returned, for one reason only, to destroy you." He remembered well the strange encounter in the void between life and death. There he had met her, the goddess of love, a radiant, sorrowful being who claimed to care deeply for him. Yet in life she had done nothing to stop his betrayal. In death she only offered riddles and obsession. She had begged him to scold her, to hate her, for that, she said, was love. Perhaps, he thought, because she was the goddess of love, she clung to him blindly, no matter how broken he became. Raoul narrowed his eyes. Useful, he thought. This deluded goddess might still serve his purpose. Then give me my power. Let me return. "But you are not yet purified," she protested. "A soul tainted by vengeance cannot return to the world of the living." "I don't care about the rules of your kind," Raoul snapped. "If you truly love me, prove it." "If I break divine law," she whispered, "I could lose everything, even my place among the gods." "Then lose it," Raoul said, "just like I lost everything because of them." The goddess hesitated, then pleaded, "Stay with me here in paradise. I'll give you eternal peace." Raoul laughed bitterly. "Peace? My only joy now will come from watching them suffer. If I'm the savior, then I'll grant salvation by purging this rotten world in blood." Even then, she looked at him with awe. "Even if you fall into darkness, you'll still be beautiful to me." She's insane, Raoul thought. A twisted, obsessed deity. But if madness was the price of his return, so be it. The goddess nodded at last. "Your happiness is my own. Even if it means our parting brings me pain, I send you forth, Raoul, with my blessing." She raised her hand, divine light surging around her. "Then go, Raoul. A new legend begins. Be the hero the world deserves, though it may fear you." As the light consumed him, Raoul's voice echoed into the void. "It's time to cleanse this damned world." As he approached the palace gates, the guards stopped him. "This area is off limits," one of them said. "The princess is getting married." A smirk tugged at Raoul's lips. "A wedding, huh? How quaint." In the present moment, that same smirk sent a shiver down Victoria's spine. Panic flickered in her eyes as she hissed, "Filthy blood!" Raoul chuckled coldly. "So, other people's lives are filth to you now?" Sandler stepped forward, shielding Victoria with his blade drawn. "This creature must be a demon imitating the hero's face. He even murdered a messenger of God." Raoul turned to the priests with visible disgust. "These? Messengers of God? Don't make me laugh." He exposed the church's corruption, recounting the wicked deeds committed under the guise of holiness. Victoria's voice trembled with fury. "Show us your real form, monster." Raoul's eyes narrowed. "This is my true form." "Liar!" she screamed. "You should be dead." Raoul stepped closer, gripping her by the hair and pulling her face toward his. "Then take a good look," he growled. "See for yourself." Seen. Sandler stepped in front of Victoria, sword raised, but before he could act, 5 knights behind him collapsed, heads severed cleanly by unseen magic. The crowd gasped, frozen in terror. Then came the panic. Screams erupted as people shoved and trampled over each other in their desperate attempt to flee. Raoul watched the chaos with a twisted amusement. "Don't run. Stay and watch," he said, voice laced with mockery. "This is a rare performance, and the star is your beloved princess." Someone from the crowd cried out, "Are you going to kill us too?" Raoul only laughed. "Silence!" Victoria's voice cut through the panic. "You are my people. What are you afraid of?" She turned to Raoul defiantly. "I don't fear this monster pretending to be a hero." Raoul exhaled, almost disappointed. "I told you, I'm no monster. I've been reborn, Victoria. Accept it." She glared at him, then barked an order. "Sandler, kill him!" But Sandler's body wouldn't move. Raoul's magic had frozen him in place. Panic flickered in the knight's eyes. "Cut off your leg if you must," she hissed. "Just save me." Raoul tilted his head and sneered. "You can't even move, Sandler. What can you possibly do now?" He turned to Emil. "Come now, show us your devotion." I can't move," Emil cried in terror. "Help me, someone, please." "Quit screaming," Victoria snapped. "You're embarrassing me." Raoul chuckled. "Seems like the prince has a mommy complex. How charming." The crowd stood frozen as Raoul's magic seized the stage. Everyone's in place. The actors are ready. "But tell me, princess, why no white dress? Blood looks so much more dramatic on white." Without warning, he seized her dress and tore it down the front. The fabric shredded under his grip, falling to the ground. Gasps echoed through the onlookers. Eyes widened. Victoria stood, trembling but defiant, baring her body to the crowd, her glare sharp as blades. "What are you going to do to me?" she spat. Raoul smirked. "Didn't you always say you wanted children?" Her face went pale. "You dare lay a hand on me?" she whispered, voice shaking. You're nothing. A low-born filth. If you touch me, I'll make your life hell." Then, astonishingly, she composed herself. "Apologize now, Raoul," she said coldly, "and I might forgive you." Sandler, still trembling, forced out, "Fight him honorably, like a man." Raoul glanced back, eyes glinting. "Honorably?" he scoffed. "Is that how you captured me last time?" Before the Demon King's fall, Raoul had only one dream: peace. In his quiet village, he trained tirelessly to defeat the Demon King, and the people stood by him like family. Men, women, and even children lent their support, believing in him. That bond, that warmth, became his reason to fight. But after Raoul's victory and his rejection of Princess Victoria, everything changed. Consumed by spite, Victoria ordered the execution of every man, woman, and child in Raoul's village. Not a single soul was spared, all just to see the look of despair on Raoul's face. When Raoul returned home, he was met with silence. Lifeless bodies lay scattered across the place that once overflowed with laughter and love. His heart stopped. The warmth he once knew was gone, cold and stained in blood. Then came the voice of a stranger. A man emerged from the shadows, flanked by guards. "Seize him." "It wasn't my fault," Sandra said, her tone stiff. "I was only following the princess's orders. The destruction of your village was a tribute, a necessity." Sandra's voice grew louder, defensive. "Those villagers were meaningless. Just like our soldiers, they were ready to die for her. Their lives meant nothing to the crown." Then she fell silent, startled. Her voice had echoed across the courtyard. Raoul smiled coldly. "I amplified your words with magic. Thank you, Sandra. You've just exposed the truth I needed the world to hear." Gasps rippled through the gathered crowd. "Could this really be Princess Victoria's doing?" someone whispered. "She killed the hero's village?" another murmured. Victoria's face turned red with rage. "Sandra!" she screamed. Raoul chuckled darkly. "Let's have a bit more fun, shall we?" He cast a subtle spell, taking control of Sandra's hand. Before anyone could react, it struck Victoria across the face with a sharp crack. "You hit my beautiful face?" Victoria shrieked, clutching her cheek. Sandra trembled. I can't control my body." Again, Raoul forced Sandra's hand to strike, then again and again. With each blow, the princess's face bruised and swelled. "Not so beautiful anymore, is it?" Raoul mocked. "But don't worry, your true punishment hasn't begun." He stepped closer, eyes shadowed with pain and fury. "You'll answer for my sister." He remembered the moment before he left for the war. His sister, pregnant and glowing, had smiled and laughed off his concerns. She told him not to worry, that she'd be fine, that the saint and the church would protect her. She said she was more worried about him. She promised to pray for him every day until he returned. But when Raoul was betrayed and captured, dragged before Victoria like a criminal, all he could do was ask, "What was my crime?" Victoria's answer cut deep. "Your crime is existing." She told him she only needed a hero to defeat the Demon King. And now that the war was over, he was nothing but trash. When he demanded to know why his village burned, she simply said, "Because you made me do it." She even offered him salvation, if he submitted to her. He spat at the offer. "I despise the look in your eyes." Then she ordered Sandra to take him to the church. What Raoul saw there would haunt him forever, his sister's lifeless body laid out like a sacrificial offering. Now in the present, Raoul summoned a powerful magic circle. Energy crackled around him as he cast the spell. Victoria staggered, screaming. Her stomach twisted in agony. Blood spilled from her lips. Raoul watched without pity. "This pain is nothing compared to what you've done. Killing you quickly would be mercy. I'm not here to be merciful." Her screams grew louder. "If you keep shouting," he warned, "you'll bleed out. But I won't let that happen, yet. I want you awake." Victoria trembled. "This is impossible. You are mine. You are my tool." Raoul crouched beside her. "I'm only giving you what you gave me. Retribution." He turned to the knights. "Don't think you're safe. Your day will come. Every one of you will face what you deserve." Then he looked to the crowd and raised his voice. "The performance ends here." Victoria roared, "Kill him! Kill Roll now, or face my wrath." The knights obeyed. Swords pierced Roll's body from every direction. Blood dripped from his lips. Victoria laughed in triumph. "Now die and repent." But Roll just looked up and smiled. "Did you forget?" he said. "I'm the hero. I don't die that easily." He ripped the swords from his body, one by one. "You'll see me again, when your face is beautiful enough for the final act." With that, he turned and began to walk away. But then he stopped, facing her one last time. "Oh, and congratulations on your wedding." He looked at the crowd. "Tell me, doesn't she look lovely?" Then he bowed deeply. "Bless Her Highness, the princess." Later, Raoul arrived at the ruins of the old church. He stood in silence, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers. Gently, he placed them at the spot where his sister had been slain. His voice was soft, almost breaking. "I should have come back sooner." Then, without hesitation, he raised his hand and cast a spell. Flames erupted from the ground, consuming the church in a roaring blaze. The fire reflected in his eyes, rage, grief, and resolve. As the structure crackled and crumbled, Raoul suddenly froze. A faint silhouette appeared in the flames. It was her, his sister. For a moment, Raoul was stunned, then let out a dry chuckle. "Now I can even see ghosts, huh?" He looked up at her, expression softening. "The people are starting to question Victoria. Some are too scared to speak, others are already whispering rebellion. Even though they're hunting me, fear is beginning to choke them." He glanced at the burning rubble. "No magic can fix what's been done. They've sealed the capital with a barrier. No one gets in or out, not even a rat." He smiled bitterly. "Oh, and that priest, the one who sold you out, Gustav. He's dead." He told her how Gustav had lived like royalty, lounging in his golden mansion while stealing from the poor. How he'd squealed in disbelief when Raoul showed up alive at his door. "I revealed every dirty secret he had," Raoul said. "He begged, promised me gold, women, even influence, thought he could buy his life." He scoffed. "So I gave him the same water torture he loved using on others. Let him drown slowly in his own fear." His voice turned cold. "There's no forgiveness anymore. Not for them, not after what they did to you, to all of us." Raoul took one last look at the ghostly image of his sister. He said, "I'll finish this." He turned away, the fire roaring behind him. "The second act of this comedy begins now." Back in the castle, she glared at Sandra, the knight who had failed her. "You pathetic wretch," Victoria spat. "Why didn't you cut off your legs to protect me?" She grabbed a whip from beside her and struck Sandra. "Useless!" Sandra whimpered, trying to speak, but Victoria screamed over her. "Silence! Silence! Silence!" Each word was punctuated by another lash. Her breaths came in ragged gasps. "I can't leave the castle. I can't kill. I can't do anything. It's like I'm cursed." Finally, panting from rage and exhaustion, she ordered coldly, "Continue torturing her until she can no longer scream." She turned to her soldiers, eyes burning with madness. "Find the hero, kill him the moment you see him, and bring me his head." The messenger had been racing through the woods, convinced that he had to deliver a secret message as fast as possible. He kept thinking that their only ally was the one person capable of standing against the hero Raoul. Spotting his horse trembling, he asked it what had frightened it so much. Upon noticing a group of goblins, he cursed them, muttering that he had no time to deal with such vile creatures. To his horror, he realized that the Goblin King himself was pursuing him. For a moment, he believed this was the end. But just as that thought struck him, it dawned on him that His Excellency had arrived in time to save him. The saviour, assessing the situation, remarked that the young man had been tracked by a pack and asked whether he had been hurt. Advising him to stay close, the knight assured the messenger of his protection. The messenger was stunned by how many goblins his rescuer had slain in an instant, thinking that it made sense why this man was hailed as the nation's greatest swordsman. Later, the head swordsman informed his sons that he would be leaving for the royal capital the next day. The children guessed that he was probably going there to deal with the rumoured resurrected hero. Their father, grinning, confirmed that the rumour had reached them swiftly. He explained that a messenger from the Imperial Guard had arrived earlier that morning, requesting his help in dealing with the hero. Adam expressed his expectations, saying he wouldn't expect anything less from his father, and asked him to kill the hero without mercy. The swordsman's wife observed that he was particularly soft on Connie. He later told his son that he looked forward to the day when they could fight side by side. Meanwhile, a young servant asked what he should prepare for the messenger's meal. A more experienced servant quickly apologized on behalf of his colleague, explaining that he was still new. The master, however, informed them both that the messenger had already left in a hurry, deeply concerned about the royal capital, and would not need any food. A maid then apologized for keeping the master waiting and offered the main course. The master replied that she had finally arrived and complimented the aroma of the dish, remarking that there was nothing better to eat before a battle, especially since he had hunted the prey himself earlier that day. He reminded the children that one must hunt their own game. The children found it cute and expressed their desire to do the same. After tasting the meat, the swordsman declared it delicious and said it carried the taste of victory. He also said he was grateful to the messenger for his efforts. The next day, he and his swordsman prepared to depart from Castle Obrif. The children saw them off, asking their father to return with the hero's head. Once he had left, the children decided to go hunting with the old toy. Connie remarked that things were noisy because Adam was breaking its throat. Their mother commented that the old toy would no longer be needed since their father would surely bring back a new one. In excitement, the children competed to destroy the toy, eager to finish it off first. The sight of the bloodied toy thrilled them. Adam shouted that he would be the one to kill it. From a distance, Raoul, who had been observing them, mocked them, calling them stinking brats and remarking how amusing they looked playing with fire. He said he intended to join their game, which would soon become far more entertaining. About a month before the wedding procession, guards at the city gate ordered Raoul to leave. One of the soldiers remarked that he looked familiar, but couldn't recall from where. Although the soldiers recognized him as Raoul the hero, they couldn't believe it, since he was supposed to be dead. They encircled him, mocking that he was probably angry because they had raped and killed every woman he had cared for, laughing that the memories were unforgettable. Raoul responded that any of them would be a good choice to test his new powers. It was, he said, time to begin. As the soldiers begged him to stop, they claimed they were only following the princess's orders. Raoul coldly stated that he was a heretic like Victoria. Turning to the terrified children, Raoul commented on how nice the weather was. They screamed to be untied and threatened him with the wrath of their father, General Brown. Raoul instructed the servants to dig faster since the sun was already setting. He told the children that he owed them a special favor, which he would repay later, but for now they should remain calm and quiet. One of the servants called out that something had been found. Raoul offered to inspect it. When the servant hesitated, claiming not to understand, Raoul warned him not to lie. He urged the others to do their best. In the twisted game he was playing, Raoul noted that Rico Kanyech had scored a point and taken the lead, though it was still not enough, considering how many people had died in that wretched castle. Rico begged to be released, and a maid cried out that more remains had been discovered. Raoul remarked that it looked like more brutal evidence had surfaced, and asked Rico whether the general had eaten the same meat the previous day. When Rico hesitated, Raoul warned him again not to lie. Raoul sneered that it was unsurprising the servants were as rotten as their masters, noting that they had clearly earned money by dismembering people and burying the remains. The children shouted that once their father returned, he would send Raoul to hell. Raoul calmly replied that there was no need for yelling, as he had already informed the general who would be arriving soon. At that moment, the swordsman's wife decided that she would rescue the children immediately, believing that a single poison arrow would be enough to kill the Goblin King. She declared that Raoul would be the main course for that evening's dinner. Her children cheered, saying they wouldn't even need their father to take care of such trash. Their mother would handle it all. Raoul remarked that it was time to untie them both and give them the special favor he had initially said he didn't want to grant. Moments later, the children screamed in horror as they saw their mother die by her own arrow. Raoul explained that she had been too weak and added that they would need to fulfill their duties before their father returned. Meanwhile, The general instructed a servant to water the horses. But soon after, the servant shouted that something unholy was lurking nearby. When the general asked about the commotion, the servant reported that there was something strange and frightening behind the bushes. The general noticed an eerie bright light and gradually came to the horrifying realization that it was the messenger they had supposedly killed the day before. The spirit of the ambassador then informed him that Raoul and his children were waiting for his arrival. Trembling, the general attempted to ask what the ghost meant by that. Elsewhere, the goddess of love, watching the events unfold, pondered aloud about what Raoul might do in his pursuit of vengeance. She confessed with glee that she was jealous of Princess Victoria, clearly delighted by the cruel twists of fate. Raoul reflected that time passed swiftly when filled with purpose and asserted that those murderers deserved what was coming. He noted how convenient dark magic could be, especially since it allowed one to witness the past of any individual. As he observed the memories of the servants, he saw how gleeful they had been during each killing and how they had profited from the slaughter. He admitted that he had once been ignorant of human nature. What had taken place here, he mused, was more befitting of demons, and he placed the blame squarely on their master. When General Brown arrived, Raoul greeted him with mock warmth, saying he had arrived earlier than expected and that everyone had been anticipating him. Gesturing toward the corpse of the general's wife, Raoul described it as a masterpiece created by the general's own sons, a grotesque piece of art. He taunted the general further, remarking on the diligence with which his children had worked on their mother. The general, consumed by fury, roared and demanded to know where his children were. Raoul urged him to calm down and suggested he take a closer look at the masterpiece. When the general repeated his demand, Raoul warned him not to waste energy trying to attack him with a sword. He reassured him that the children were still alive and again invited him to examine the scene more closely. He asked if it didn't remind the general of something. Perhaps in hometown, the village of Baden. As memories came flooding back, Raoul found himself recalling his childhood. He had once spent peaceful days picking mushrooms and talking with his older sister, who would praise his work. Their mother used to cook delicious meals and remind them to wash their hands before eating. Baden had been a small, tranquil village in the western region of the Kauri Kingdom, Raoul's birthplace. He remembered one strange but joyful day when he and his sister were hunting a rabbit for dinner. But then Uncle Hans arrived, gravely wounded, to report that their village had been attacked. General Brown, who had come afterward, inquired whether there had been any survivors and claimed he had arrived to help. He expressed his shock at the brutality of the demons and even asked Raoul if the body hanging from the tree was truly their mother's. At that time, the general explained that the light surrounding Raoul was the mark of a hero. He suggested that the resentment burning in the boy's heart must have awakened latent powers. The general had then asked Raoul to accompany him to the castle, apologizing for not arriving sooner to protect the village. Raoul had accepted and began his training in the royal capital. He hadn't known then that everything had been orchestrated for someone else's gain. Reflecting on it now, he admitted that he had once misunderstood the nature of demons and had been foolish enough to believe everything the general's men told him. General Brown then asked if Raoul's current actions were driven by that same old desire for revenge. With twisted pride, the general confirmed that he had been the one to burn down Baden. He confessed that committing genocide under the king's orders had been exhilarating, and expressed regret only that he had failed to kill Raoul back then. Even if Raoul was now a hero, the general declared himself the strongest man in the kingdom. The general recalled how Raoul's mother had tried to protect the village boy and how, after killing her, he had cooked her remains. He had found the taste of her meat surprisingly tender. Raoul responded coldly that none of it shocked him anymore. He had already known everything. That was why, he said, he had done the same to the general's wife. He then laughed, questioning whether the general truly believed he was still the strongest after doing the same thing over and over for years. Raoul found it all terribly dull. The general shouted back that Raoul was spouting nonsense and insisted on his superiority. Raoul, unfazed, told him it was good to be confident, because the time had come to light up the stage. He declared that he would tear the general's children apart. Raoul revealed that the general's sons were being held in the dungeon beneath his estate. If the general wished to save them, he would have to defeat Raoul in combat.